The restaurant is too loud. The bass from the speakers vibrates in your chest. Across from you, she sits, watching, waiting. You feel the silence growing like a wall between you. It's uncomfortable. It's heavy. It's suffocating. So you do what every other man does. You break. You start talking. You tell a joke that isn't funny. You explain your promotion at work for the third time. You lean in too close, invading her space, searching for a sign, any sign, that you are enough. Your palms are damp. Your heart is a drum hitting a frantic rhythm. Your breath is shallow. She nods. She sips her wine, but her eyes are already wandering toward the exit. You think you're being charismatic. You think you're being high value. You are wrong. You are being loud. And in the world of high-stakes attraction, loudness is the sound of a man who is afraid of the silence, afraid of being found out, afraid of losing a game he hasn't even learned how to play. Most men in the modern world are terrified of being still. They think attraction is a performance, a circus act of words and ego. But the ancient Stoics knew a secret that modern dating apps will never tell you. They knew that power doesn't scream, power observes. There are 3 specific words, 3 linguistic anchors that change the chemistry of a room. They don't require a loud voice. They require a spine of steel and a mind of ice. If you use them, she won't just listen. She will lean in. But first, you must face the enemy you brought to the table, yourself. She leans back. She crosses her arms, a physical barricade between you and her. Then she drops the grenade. I usually date men who are more adventurous, she says. Or maybe it's, you're not what I expected. It's a test, a shit test. She's looking for a crack in your armor. She's waiting for you to stumble, to explain, to justify your life. Most men panic. They feel an itch in the back of their throat, a desperate need to speak. They start listing their travels. They talk about their skydiving trip 3 years ago. They try to convince her that they are adventurous. They are selling. And when you are selling, you are losing. The moment you defend yourself, you've handed her the keys to your emotional state. You've told her, your words have the power to change me. Please, tell me who I am. The Stoic does not need a mirror. The Stoic is the mirror. Instead of leaning in, you lean back. You don't blink. You let the silence sit there heavy and cold for 2 seconds longer than is comfortable. Then you say one word. Interesting. One word, 4 syllables, infinite power. Why? Because interesting is not an answer. It is an observation. When you use it, you aren't defensive. You aren't offensive. You're a scientist watching a chemical reaction in a lab. You are looking at her, not as a judge of your character, but as a person providing data. You've probably been there. That frantic feeling in your chest when you're being criticized. That heat rising in your neck. That urge to win the argument. Stop. Think of this word as a shield. It absorbs the energy of her comment and sends it back to her. By saying, interesting, you are shifting the frame from, do you like me? To, why did you feel the need to say that? It forces her to fill the void. It forces her to explain herself. Suddenly, the roles have reversed. You aren't the one being interrogated anymore. You are the one conducting the interview. This isn't a trick. It's a mindset. It's the realization that your value is a fact, not a debate. Most men think they attract women with what they say. But the truth is, you attract women with what you refuse to say. You attract them with the boundaries of your own mind. Interesting shows her that you are unshakable, that your reality is stronger than her opinion. But silence is only a shield. To truly dominate the space, you need to master something much more difficult. You need to control the one thing most men lose the moment they feel a spark of attraction: the tempo. Your phone vibrates, a notification flashes, your heart spikes, Your thumb hovers over the screen. You feel a burning itch to respond. Immediately. Now. You think speed is a sign of interest. You think being available is a sign of value. It isn't. In the digital age, speed is the currency of the desperate. When you reply in 3 seconds, you aren't being polite. You are showing her that your world revolves around a glass rectangle. You're telling her that you have nothing more important to do than wait for her validation. 2,000 years ago, the most powerful man on earth faced a different kind of pressure. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome. Imagine him in his tent. The Germanic tribes are screaming outside the gates. The plague is rotting his army from the inside out. His generals are panicked. The weight of an entire empire is crushing his shoulders. What did he do? Did he rush? Did he shout? No. He sat. He breathed. He picked up a pen. He wrote to himself. Nature does nothing in a hurry. Aurelius understood a truth that modern men have forgotten. He who controls the tempo controls the room. When you are on a date or in a high-stakes meeting, the world will try to rush you. She might ask a difficult question. She might create a moment of tension. The average man stammers. He fills the air with and He tries to catch up to her speed. The Stoic slows down. When she says something that demands a reaction, don't give it. Not yet. Look at her. Really look at her. Let the silence stretch until it becomes a physical weight. And then say 4 words. Take your time. When you tell someone else to take their time, you are subconsciously signaling that you have all the time in the world. You are demonstrating that you are not a slave to the clock. You are the master of it. You aren't rushing to the finish line of the conversation. You are enjoying the walk. This is not just dating advice. This is a biological shift. When you slow your speech, your heart rate drops. Your cortisol levels stabilize. You move from the fight or flight brain to the executive brain. Women are biologically tuned to sense the nervous system of the man in front of them. If you are vibrating with anxiety, she will feel it. If you are a rock in the middle of a rushing river, she will lean on you. But there is a danger. If you use silence and speed without the third secret, you aren't a Stoic. You're just a statue. You're cold. You're distant. To turn interesting and tempo into a magnetic force, you need to add the one thing that makes her feel truly seen. And it's a phrase that most men use as a weapon, but the Stoic uses as a bridge. She is upset. Her voice is rising, a sharp contrast to the soft music in the background. She's listing her frustrations, maybe about her job, her friends, or something you did. You feel it, the reflex. The fixer in you wants to stand up. You want to offer solutions. You want to point out the flaws in her logic. You want to defend your honor. Your jaw tightens. You prepare your opening statement like a lawyer in a courtroom. You think that if you win the argument, you win the woman. You are fundamentally mistaken. In the heat of an emotional moment, logic is a foreign language. When you try to fix her emotions with facts, you aren't being a leader. You're being a nuisance. You're telling her that her feelings are a problem to be solved rather than a reality to be witnessed. The Stoic knows that he cannot control the storm of another person's mind, but he can be the lighthouse that remains unmoved by the waves. You wait. You don't interrupt. You don't look at your watch. You look directly into her eyes, not with judgment, but with a calm, steady presence. When the storm finally quietens, when she runs out of breath, you don't offer a rebuttal. You offer a bridge. I understand. 2 words, 11 letters. I understand is not the same as you are right. It is not an admission of guilt. It is an admission of presence. It says, I hear the words you are saying. I feel the weight of your emotion, and I am strong enough to hold space for both without being destroyed by them. Think about the last time you were in a conflict. You probably felt like you were shouting into a void, desperate for the other person to just get it. When you say, "I understand," the void disappears. The tension in her shoulders will drop. The wall in her eyes will soften. Why? Because you have given her the rarest gift in the modern world: undivided, non-judgmental attention. That is not weakness. That is supreme confidence. Only a man who is completely sure of his own reality can afford to validate someone else's. Only a man who doesn't need to win can actually lead. This is the Alpha-Stoic paradox. By giving up the need to be the loudest voice in the room, you become the most influential. But be careful. These 3 words, interesting, take your time, I understand, are not magic spells. If you use them while your heart is full of resentment, she will smell the lie. To make this work, you need to change more than your vocabulary. You need to change your soul. Because the final truth of attraction has nothing to do with what you say to her. It has everything to do with what you say to yourself when no one is watching. Go to your bathroom mirror tonight. Look at the man staring back. He's spent a lifetime performing. He spent a fortune on clothes, cars, and cologne, all to mask the one thing he lacks: certainty. You've heard the words? Interesting. Take your time. I understand. But understand this: these are not tools to manipulate her. They are tools to liberate you. If you use interesting to hide your anger, it will fail. If you say take your time while your leg is shaking under the table, she will sense the fraud. Women don't fall for words. They fall for the nervous system that remains calm while the world is on fire. True attraction is the shadow cast by a man who stands in his own light. It is the byproduct of a man who has decided that his peace is more valuable than her approval. Marcus Aurelius wasn't writing for the history books. He was writing to keep his soul from rotting under the weight of an empire. He chose his thoughts. He chose his tempo. He chose his silence. And that is your final lesson. Modern dating is a race to the bottom, a marketplace of desperation. It wants you to be loud, rushed, and reactive. It wants you to be a consumer of validation. The Stoic refuses. When you stop chasing her attention, you give her something much more valuable to chase: your respect. You don't need a script. You need a spine. If this message hit home, leave a comment with one word: unshakable. It lets me know who is actually doing the work. Go be the man who doesn't need to speak to be heard. The work begins now.